Hey everybody, it's Jeremy Bradley here, and it's time for the BuffRadio.com entertainment wrap-up presented by Buff Boy Brewing Company.
JB's Entertainment Wrap-Up.
Brought to you by BuffBoyBrewing.com. For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you'll surely feel naughty when you swallow their coffee. Shop Buff Boy Brewing's premium collections of coffee and tea at BuffBoyBrewing.com. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough buff. Here's what's making news this March 26th. She's the chair-throwing, unhinged, cancelled Bachelorette, and life could be getting much worse for Taylor Frankie Paul. Yes, that's a female. As we've talked about, if she's found to have violated her 3-year probation for the previous domestic violence incident in 2023, she could face worse consequences. We are just wordy today. Remember, police were called last month after she and ex-Dakota Mortensen had another blow-up. So, what's the development? Mortensen filed a police report last month, the third allegation of domestic violence, but this isn't the one that is said to have happened last month. It's something that he alleges happened back in 2024. And reports are there's video of it too, so watch TMZ. Paul is already seen on camera throwing at least 3 metal chairs at her ex in an explosive fight. It's apparently what prompted the cancellation of The Bachelorette days before season premiere last week. Local Utah police confirmed the open file, saying in a statement, quote, "Investigators are actively working to gather and verify information and are in the process of interviewing those involved. At this time, no charges have been filed as the investigation remains ongoing," end quote. And this is what's important here, as I mentioned earlier, quote, "The allegations were reported at the end of February 2026, and detectives have reviewed video believed to have been recorded in early to mid-2024. They also report being called, is that the end of the quote here? That's the end of the quote. They also report being called on. It is the end of the quote. Or that is a quote, or it's not a quote. The quote ends at mid-2024. We need to get that official. They also report being called on February 24th and 25th. Separate open domestic violence investigators were called in. This week, Salt Lake County District Attorney Sim Gill says, quote, "We are aware of the allegations, and since Ms. Paul is on a plea in abeyance status, we would always be interested in any subsequent allegations of criminal conduct during her probationary period. If there is conduct that rises to the level of a violation that would fall within our domain to file charges, then we would screen it when and if it is presented to us," end quote. Obviously, all of the violence and drama has upstaged the train wreck season of The Bachelorette. There was speculation that Paul would have to give back her 6-figure paycheck for pretending to be a princess on the Disney show. It's being reported that she gets to keep the money. We don't know exactly how much, but something in the 6-figure range. And while the show had not been fully completed in production, only the first few episodes were reportedly done, according to sources. What actually happened on the show? We're hearing that in the end, Paul supposedly fell in temporary TV love with Doug Mason, a 28-year-old surfer and lifeguard from California. Well, that means that he's going to have good reflexes, right? So he can, dodge a chair on the fly. Literally. But how solid was the relationship if Paul, since the finale, has still been fighting it up with ex Mortensen? Yes, they have a kid together, so there is sometimes need to have interaction, but it seems like the Jerry Springer couple can't quit each other. A source said, Frankie and Doug are still in touch, but it's unclear what will happen now. That's to be determined. Remember, Paul already has 1 failed marriage under her belt, 2 kids from that relationship, and another relationship that's had multiple police calls. One including a violent chair-throwing incident in which she allegedly smoked one of her kids with the chair. And now this Bachelorette romance. What a lucky guy this Doug Mason is. Lucky, lucky guy. As we've talked about in 2023, Paul made a plea deal on an aggravated assault charge, and all the other charges she was facing were dropped, provided that she meets the conditions of her deal, which is now in doubt. The charge will be reduced from a felony to a misdemeanor after 36 months. And just last week, as we talked about, Paul lost temporary custody of her kid with Mortensen. Her ex filed a protective order against her, even after she's reportedly happily in a new relationship with Lucky Doug. Or is she? For her part, Paul clapped back at the relationship scandal by saying she's the victim of abuse at the hands of Mortensen, and a rep said that she's preparing to own her story, whatever that means. That's a check of your celebrity headlines for this Thursday, March 26th. I'm back tomorrow right here on the BuffRadio.com entertainment wrap-up presented by Buff Boy Brewing Company. Till next time, I'm Jeremy Bradley.
For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow